Please be advised that Little Miss Recap contains adult language. Hi everyone, Amy here. I just wanted to take a minute and just let you know this is a really intense documentary that we talked about. This is a very difficult conversation that Amanda and I had. I want you to be aware of the trigger warnings for this episode. There's sexual assault, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, suicidality, religious trauma, all of those things. If you are not in the headspace to listen to this today, please skip it. If you do listen, I hope that you feel we did a responsible job in covering this documentary. As always, thank you for listening. Hi everyone, welcome to Little Miss Recap, the podcast where we talk about fundamentalist religion, get all worked up, and then go and punch a pillow with Cody Brown's face on it.
I support this. We need, I don't want any of these faces in my world, but we need pillows with them to beat them up.
Yeah, just pillows of maybe just their torso, so we don't have to look at their face.
I don't look at any of these men's faces. They all have gross faces.
Guys, I'm Amy Archer. I'm here with my co-host, Amanda Lipnack-Radell, and together we are dissecting and diving into Let Us Pray, a Ministry of Scandals.
Mm-hmm. I also liked in the title card, I don't know if you picked up on it, the cross was upside down.
Oh, no, I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah.
It's a great title.
It is a great title. And I liked how they did the, what we call the black screen of death.
Mm-hmm,
but it's over what looks like
a Bible.
A Bible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So if you haven't heard part one, go back because you're doing this out of order.
Right.
Amanda guided us through what I call the list of heinous crimes committed by these scumbags.
We get more heinous crimes in 3, but 4 is when everything gets better. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of a conclusion to that. And we're going to start with episode 3, which is called Chapter 3, The Get Right Room. Again, trigger warning, sexual assault, abuse, emotional, physical, everything. I'll put it all at the beginning of this episode, but
all the abuse.
Everything. Yeah. Religious trauma. Religious
trauma. It's everything.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't talk about Eric Skwarczynski.
Yeah.
How do you say his name?
I don't know how you say his last name.
But he's a podcaster. Now, you've said you've listened to him. What is his podcast?
It's called Preacher Boys.
Okay. And he's a former member, right?
He was a former IFP kid.
IFB?
Left IFB. Yeah. Sorry. IFB. I was getting IBLP and I
know.
All these stupid initials.
So
he was a member of the church as a kid. He grew up in it. He's the badass who's wearing a t-shirt that says purity culture is rape culture.
Love it.
Love him.
Mm-hmm.
I think as I said to you before we recorded, I think I found him through the podcast Mormon Stories, which is this guy, John DeLynn, who's been on a little bit culty a lot. And sometimes he gets pulled into documentaries and stuff about cults. And he has this podcast, Mormon Stories, where he's telling former LDS stories about the abuse that they all went through. And sometimes he had Sarah Nippy from A Little Bit Culty / Nexium on his podcast. Yeah. There's a group of these people that show up in all of these podcasts. Yanya Yalich that was in Twin Flame. She's someone who shows up all the time. There's a cast of characters to do, and he's one of them. But Eric has this podcast. He winds up having Ruthie on the podcast to talk about her experience.
Okay.
I want to go back and listen
fantastic.
To that. Love her.
Love her so much. I really like this guy. I would love to score an interview with him.
I should reach
out and see what we can do.
Yeah.
I'm thinking for our Little Miss Recap extra tier, a little bit culty, that maybe we should do, what is it? Keep Sweet?
Keep Sweet, Pray and
Obey.
That
was tough.
That was tough. Yeah, we could totally do that.
Yeah, that would be something good to get into.
And then we can realize that Gary the Bachelor, Golden Bachelor, does sound a bit like Warren Jeffs.
Yes.
Not good.
All right. So just to refresh your memory, the main players here, there's a lot of minor players, but the main players are Ruthie Heiler, her abusers, Aaron Willand, Kathy Durbin, her abusers, Paul Fox, Nanette Miles will meet in this one, whose abuser is David Hiles, and then April and Rachel Peach. April, I don't know her last name. Rachel
Avila.
Peach. Avila, thank you.
Yeah.
Their rapist is Victor Montiero.
Right, who is Kathy's brother-in-law.
Yep. So now we're going to meet Amanda Householder. So Amanda Householder is
She's
I
fascinating.
want to say she's maybe 30. Like, she's
She's
pretty
young.
young. Yeah.
She's young. Todd came in while I was watching this. I was watching this while I was baking and cooking yesterday in the kitchen.
Mhm.
And he's like, what's going on with this girl? I mean, she's got like wacky hair. She's got a nose
Mhm.
ring, like a lot of tattoos. And I'm like, this woman has been through hell and back.
She's been through hell and she's a fucking hero.
She is.
Again.
She's a fucking badass.
So her parents are the owners of Circle of Hope Ranch and Boarding School. So
Oh.
apparently we get into the parenting philosophy, and Amanda says she would be beaten every day after church. And she said, my sister and I, like, and my brother, whatever, we'd be upstairs, like, recovering from our severe beatings. And mom and dad would be like, ha, 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 like watching Letterman. And they didn't
Right.
give a fuck.
Mm-mm.
Watching Letterman. Listen to me. What am I, 107?
I love
So,
David Letterman back in the day.
yeah. So eventually grandma calls CPS, and Amanda was so brainwashed. She says that she denied there was anything happening because
Mm-hmm.
she believed that this was God's will.
Yep. She's fucked if she does anything.
Yeah. So now we have the voice of Eric, the podcaster. He says, and we touched on this in our first episode of this coverage. The independent Baptists are biblical fundamentalists. They believe in the King James Bible, like Amanda said. Any other version is corrupt, and it's so inaccessible in its language. So without the guidance of a pastor or an English major,
Mm-hmm.
it's tough to understand, and that allows for manipulation, of
Absolutely.
course. So now we see a little bit of Jack Hiles. Don't forget Jack Hiles, the
Is
big
the head
piece
of
of
this whole
shit.
thing.
He says you need a belt or a paddle. That's a number one tool for every parent.
Mm.
And he wrote a book in 1979 called How to Rear Your Infant.
Yeah.
Again, guys, you know what to do. This is probably on Amazon. Get out there, tank the
And
reviews. Let's do it.
this is like the training that they did in the IBLP where they would like take a toddler and put like their toy outside of the
Yes.
blanket training thing. This is the same thing.
Yes. So he says the book describes that you have to spank your child to keep it in line, even as an infant.
Sure.
Let me tell you something.
Fuck.
Let me tell you something. I raised 2 infants. I had 2 at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Spanking them would have made it a lot worse. Because if your baby's crying already, don't spank it.
Don't make more crying.
Guess what? More crying is going to happen.
Well, I
Jesus
mean,
Christ.
Cody Brown did teach us we need to raise our babies to respect us.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Amanda's parents moved to Missouri so that her dad could work at Agape boarding school. And Agape was like 200 acres. They had camels, they had horses, they had like it was a fun petting zoo. And their motto, are you ready for this? Is at Agape, we lovingly, patiently, and biblically teach your child the importance of submission to authority.
Jesus Christ.
How
They're not even trying to, I mean, they're not even trying to hide the quiet part out loud.
Yeah,
It's
they're
just
saying the quiet part out loud. Yep.
Yeah.
So Amanda, so now we have a second Amanda. I'm calling
Right.
her Amanda 2. Okay. So Amanda 2 got married and her husband got a job at Agape. So now she's, her husband's working there. Amanda 1's parents are working there.
Right.
Eric tells us, Eric the podcaster, that the goal is to break you down for 18 years and turn you into a Christian soldier for the movement. So think about like the products of this kind of rearing are people like the Platts.
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubt in my mind the Platt children were not spanked. You can't convince me.
Oh, they were beaten,
Yes.
I'm sure,
Yep.
on a regular basis.
Yep. Allegedly. Allegedly.
Kim, I buy that in a heartbeat.
So now we have Lester Roloff. Lester Roloff, Eric tells us, started the troubled teen industry within the IFB community. He took the concept of teen homes and he Christianized them. What could go wrong, Amanda?
Oh, this sounds like a recipe for a great experience for children.
Yep. So he opens these roll-off schools. And eventually there's some lawsuits. Texas, for example, wants to shut him down because they say, which Texas wants to shut him down?
Right.
They want him
for Texas. If it's so bad, Texas is like, oh no. Mm-mm.
Yes. Texas is like, you need a license for these schools.
Right.
they take it all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court rules it falls under freedom of religion. And guess what? No license required.
Right. Which is fucking terrifying.
Wow. Okay. So now we go to Kathy Durbin. And of course, she spent time in one of these schools.
Of course she did.
So they're often billed as like boarding schools. You know, your children go to live there, essentially.
Yeah.
So Victory Christian Academy is where Kathy Durbin spent her time. And it's in California. And she says, it's like a prison. There's a 15-foot fence around it. It's alarmed. They have dogs. But she says what's even scarier is it's like an unregulated prison.
Right.
Like nobody's watching these people.
No one gives a shit.
Okay, so she says your voice is taken away immediately.
Yep.
Like you're not allowed to, literally, you're not allowed to talk, but you're also not allowed to contact your parents, nothing. She says boys did the manual labor, and Amanda 1 tells us girls were building shit, and they were also doing the hay bucking. They would hay buck out in the sun for hours and hours. And they were basically taught that you had to be feminine and you had to be a perfect girl.
Yep.
Kathy Durbin tells us there were girls trying to slit their wrists in the showers all the time with the little plastic razors.
With those daisy razors. Do you remember those that like were circles?
Oh, yes.
I always wanted those razors because I thought they were cool. And my mom's like, they're expensive. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
These people had no degrees, no qualifications. This is what Eric, the podcaster, tells us. And there were kids who were like 5 and 6 years old at these schools. If this is not child abuse, what is?
I know.
Right? Like,
I know.
Amanda tells us the first time she tried, Amanda 1, householder, the first time she tried to commit suicide, she was 10 years old. Okay. So her parents are Boyd and Stephanie Householder, and they are horrible. A real funky looking bunch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'll just say that.
So they opened their own school, Circle of Hope. So now we see Amanda going there in real time, and I forget who she's with. Is she with Ruthie? Who's she with?
She might be with Ruthie. Ruthie seems to visit everybody.
Yeah, she's
Ruthie
with somebody. She's with somebody. And it had closed in September of 2020, but the owner is letting them look through it.
Right.
And it sits pretty much untouched as to how it was. And this is like a tiny ranch house, guys. And it housed 30 girls.
Yeah.
At any given time. Of course, there's NRA stickers all over the fucking place. That's just something I clocked.
Yeah, same.
They forced Amanda. So here's the thing. There were 30 girls at any given time. So that was more than Boyd and Stephanie could handle.
Of course.
So they kind of forced Amanda to abuse these girls and to participate as a, quote, staff member.
Right. She was like 12.
Yes.
She's a staff member.
Now, one of the main forms of punishment was to be put on the wall. Where'd we see that before, Amanda?
That would be Natalia Grace.
Natalia Grace spent a lot of time on the wall.
Right.
Yeah. What the fuck is this shit?
It's so awful.
What happened to just go to your room? What is this being put on the wall?
I know.
Like, I remember Miss Beadle always put Willie in the corner, Willie Olson.
True, she did.
She didn't yell, put him on the wall.
No. He just had to go stand in the corner.
Yeah, this is wild.
I remember having to go sit in the corner.
Yeah.
In elementary school.
Yeah, I was always in the corner.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of abuse, Amanda tells us, humiliation, deprivation. Amanda says at one point she got a UTI from being on the wall because you could be there for months. And if you had to pee, they wouldn't let you go. You know, whatever. Right. Amanda very tearfully and very emotionally tells us that she had to punish the other girls. She had to restrain them, which meant like they had to lean on their pressure points until they were screaming. Like, it's dark.
Yeah. Like kids would get off the ground with like gravel, like in their face. Like that's all the guilt Amanda feels is the abuse that she did to other kids. And I don't feel like she has any culpability there not to use the word culpable. She didn't do anything wrong. I mean, she did things wrong, but she had no choice.
She was being told by her parents to do these things.
Yeah.
She was a child herself who was abused.
Yep.
So there's this dark room with no windows. It's the isolation room. And there's a version of this at all of these schools. And
Mhm.
at Agape, it was called the Padded Palace. And at Victory Christian Academy, it was called the Get Right Room.
Kathy spent a lot of time in the get right room.
They relived this. It's really heartbreaking. I won't go into a lot of detail, but it gets real dark. Kathy Durbin says, this is the room where you go. Wait, this is the room where you learn to go along to get along,
Mhm.
basically. So she says at one point, her mom comes to the school and Kathy Durbin gets in the car with mom and she starts telling them all the atrocities that she has suffered here.
Mhm.
Her mom turns to her and says, Kathy, they already prepared me that you were going to say shit like this.
Yep.
And Kathy says, at that moment, I realized I was stuck and this was hell. I can't
Mhm.
even imagine. I can't even imagine.
I can't either. She is in pure hell.
She's in pure hell. So now we have Boyd and Stephanie back to Amanda's parents. And they're good friends with Dave Hiles, who is the monstrous, disgusting son of Jack Hiles.
Mhm.
Dave Hiles is 10 times worse.
Yeah, they're like, as bad as Jack was,
Mhm.
Dave is so much worse. It's kind of like Bill Gothard and his brother. Remember that they kept sending
Yes.
places?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So having Dave on board, Amanda said, would make it look credible for her parents because the Hiles name carries weight. So they, courted this guy and wanted him on their board of directors at Circle of Hope or whatever. Dave was the only son of Jack, and he was way worse than his father. And then we learn he probably killed his stepson,
Mhm.
Brent Stevens.
Brent
Justice
Steven.
for Brent Stevens.
For sure.
Okay. We meet Paul Ciolino, Ciolino. Ciolino?
Chiolino?
Ciolino?
I don't
I don't
know.
know. He is a former child homicide investigator.
Mhm.
He says Brent Stevens, who was a baby.
Yeah, at first I was like, "Okay, this is awful that this kid died,"
Yeah,
but then to realize this was an infant.
he was a baby, guys. Came into the hospital with multiple fractures in various stages of healing, which, if any of you work in social work, you know that is red flag number one.
Yes. That means this kid is being beaten on the reg and with
He's
no medical care at
no
all.
medical attention, correct. So Paul says, I don't know who he told, it's not clear,
Yeah.
but he was ringing the alarm and saying, this kid is going to end up dead. If you
Yep.
send him back with his parents, he's going to end up dead. Sure enough, he shows up dead a year
Yep.
later.
Yep. Of course.
He says it haunts him to this day. Paul says it haunts him to this day.
I
We
bet.
see the autopsy. It clearly says he was abused and beaten to death.
Mhm.
No charges are ever filed.
Nope.
Nope, nothing. I guess, we just accept in this fucking church that infants are beaten to death and it's okay.
It's
It's
fine.
all right.
I'm sure whatever I bet the baby was immodest.
I bet the
What the
baby wasn't
fuck?
respecting the parents.
Probably. Cody Brown.
So Jamie Hiles, okay, is the adopted daughter of this monster, David
Right.
Hiles. And she doesn't know what he did, but she's like, he 100% killed Brent Stevens.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
She says she was adopted and David was never her father. He was someone they were terrified of.
I'm sure.
She recounts this harrowing experience where she was a young child hanging onto her mother's leg. The mother's holding the sister. David Hiles has a loaded gun at their head and is
Mhm.
telling the mother he's going to blow her fucking brains out.
Yep.
I
This fucking monster. He is a true psychopath.
Okay. When David Hiles was a youth pastor at First Baptist Church of Hammond, he
Right.
was accused of rape by several women, including this new woman that we're meeting, Nanette Miles, who I adore.
I love her too.
She says her mom had cancer and, it was really depressing and scary at home. So
Uh-huh.
she was
Sure.
seeking solace. And she was 12 and she went to David Hiles and was telling him what was going on at home. And he told her she looked sexy.
The fuck. And the thing is, in a healthy church, in a healthy world, a 12-year-old should feel with her mother's very ill. Things are bad at home. She should be able to go to her pastor and say, I need
100%.
support. I need help. In a healthy world, the pastor then says, how can I help you? What do you like? What does your family need?
Mhm.
All of this. No, this guy's like, oh, good. Now I can rape her.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Great.
prime meat here.
Prime meat here. No one's going to notice.
So
The mother's dying. She doesn't have time to deal with this.
she said she really admired the Hiles, so she, like, didn't say anything about it.
Sure.
And then he started taking pornographic pictures of her, and then he raped her when she was 13. He takes her to a hotel, he gives her something. She said juice, she wasn't sure what it was. I'm sure it was alcohol.
Yeah.
And he, let me just say, I'm not gonna get too much into this, but he raped her. Like, it was bad.
Bad.
She said it happened almost weekly for 4 years.
The fuck?
Let that sink in, guys. That's 200 times. That is
That
over the
she's
span of
raped.
4 years.
That she's raped over and over and over.
She said she
Oh,
blamed herself.
of course she did.
She said she told her mom, and she felt like her mom couldn't even hear it.
Mhm.
Couldn't deal with it. We don't know what was going on, Mom. We know she had cancer. We don't know. We don't know what was going on, Mom. She said David Hiles has had several very credible accusations of rape against him, and he's never been charged, and he's still preaching.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, back to Circle of Hope. Okay. So Amanda hears from a girl who's, of course, already had a history of abuse, and
Of
she's in the
course.
school already,
Of course.
that her dad is starting to poke at her. And this girl says, and this ought to tell you everything you need to know about this fucking community. This girl,
Mhm.
so you're Amanda, right? You're Amanda
Yes.
Householder, and you are.
I'm literally Amanda, but no, I'm Amanda Householder. Yes.
I come to you and I'm like, your dad is starting to do stuff to me that I know from my years of history of abuse already
Right.
will lead to sexual assault. Like, the fact that, like, a 12-year-old girl already can identify this because it's happened to her is
Mhm.
so ugh. All right.
Yeah, she knows this is step 1.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
first thing we're doing in
Yep.
this line of things.
So they run away,
Mhm.
and Amanda says she was 15, and they stayed somewhere. She's not very clear on this. There's not a
Mm-mm.
lot of detail. She just says she stayed somewhere, and she was so scared she ended up having to call her grandmother. And sure enough, dad comes to get them.
Yeah, of course.
Then he takes them to Sam's Club. He buys Amanda a bikini. She
Mhm.
swims. He watches her. I don't know where we were going with that.
I didn't either. I was waiting for the next step of like, and then my father started,
Yeah,
molesting
yeah.
me. It didn't sound like it, but it was just such a mind fuck.
It was a mind fuck. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was. Because he was letting her break a rule.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Almost like
Yeah.
earning her trust.
Right. I'll let you in on this little fun
Mhm.
I will do something in secret that's fun and tell you we can't tell anybody.
Yeah, it's probably
So
part of
that you
grooming. Yep.
it's more grooming.
Yeah. So she was returned and humiliated, and she said she immediately regretted going back and calling her
Mhm.
grandmother. Eventually, she tries to run again, and her parents kick her out. She says she moves to California, she gets a job, but she still loved and missed her father, and she wanted her parents. And we'll get more into that later.
Yeah.
Now the episode kind of completely veers away from the detention centers, and we go back to Rachel.
Mhm.
And not Rachel. Yes. No, Ruthie. I'm sorry,
Ruthie.
Ruthie. She discovers there's a trial pending in August for her case against Aaron Weiland.
Right.
And this is all during the pandemic, these trials.
Right.
Well, like, things are really fucked up. They're doing video trials. People are in courtrooms with masks on. Like, it's really,
Exactly.
it brings you right back to the
Oh, it did. I was like,
the
"Oh."
infamous judge with the cat face on the Zoom.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes. I'm not a cat, Your Honor. I can see that. No, you
Oh,
can't. I
he
look
was a lawyer, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
I'm not a cat, Your Honor.
So she meets with, and again, I want to call out the white men with positions
Mhm.
of power who do the right things here.
Yes.
They deserve credit. And
They absolutely do.
this guy, DA Mike Rolla, is a good dude.
Yep. He
And
sure
he
is.
calls Ruthie and her mother into his office, and he's talking through his plan of how he's going to approach this case. And he tells her he's confident, and she says, and this is heartbreaking, Ruthie says, what if I can't? And I remember going through this. Like when I was
Mm,
sexually assaulted, it was by a peer who was like a
okay.
couple of years older than me, and all of his friends did not believe me.
Of course not.
And it was because like I had some details fuzzy. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because
Yeah.
you don't know what's happening.
When you're in crisis, your brain, it isn't
Right.
processing everything. You're in trauma. Like,
Yeah. But I
you
carried that around with me for so long that like, did it really happen the way that I thought it
right.
happened?
You can't
You
trust
know
your
what I
own
mean?
memory.
Like culpable, Cody Brown? You know, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yep.
And we see this with her. And she says, "What if I can't remember certain details? Like it was so long ago." And then she says, "When I gave my story," and you could tell this has been haunting her.
Oh, of
She goes, "When
course.
I gave my story, it probably has changed from when I gave it for the first time, 20 years ago."
Sure.
This guy, this Mike Rolla is brilliant with
I
her.
wanted to hug him.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
loved him so
He
much.
tells her, "Of course you don't remember. You didn't know what rape was. You didn't know what sex was." He's like,
Right.
"I need you to know that this is not your fault." I could
Yeah.
cry even thinking about
I know,
this.
and he's like,
It's
"I'm
so
going to help you."
powerful.
And he's like,
Yes.
"Let me I will take care of all of the, like,
Yes.
how to
Yes.
frame all of this. You don't have to do anything other than tell your story." And she's like,
Yes.
What if I don't remember?" I said, Then you say you don't remember. It's
Yes.
okay."
Yes. And
I loved him.
I think this is I'm gonna cry.
Oh god.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I think this is like the first time that she felt heard. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you could see that
Particularly
in
by a
her.
man. A
Yeah.
man
Yeah.
was
Sorry.
doing That's okay. A man was doing right by her. And
Yes.
other than her
Yes.
husband, I don't think she knew what that looked like.
Yes.
This
100%.
stranger
100%.
who didn't love, I mean, I'm sure he has care for her, but, like, he has no reason other than it's
Right.
his job
Right.
to do anything for her, and he was so kind and so, I mean, he is what you would want a DA, a
Yeah.
prosecutor to be with every sexual assault
Yes.
victim, survivor
He
ever.
he
He's a
strikes the
hero.
exact right tone.
Yes, he's a fucking hero.
He doesn't get overly emotional with her.
Nope.
He's like, he validates everything. Like it's a powerful moment. It's a
It is.
powerful
I
moment.
loved him.
So then they have this Facebook group, like you had talked about, and they've started speaking out, the Blind Eye Movement, and
Mhm.
they form a group on Facebook. And they're reaching people, and someone sends Amanda Householder a video of her dad demanding someone knock out a little girl at their Circle of Hope home. So he's
Mhm.
screaming, "Knock her the fuck out." He is a scumbag beyond all. He's
Mhm.
telling someone to punch out a little girl.
Yeah.
Okay, so Amanda decides she tries everything to get attention to this. So she decides she's going to go on TikTok
Yep.
and she's going to post a video and it goes viral. Hey everyone, stay tuned. Little Miss Recap will be right back after these words.
So it's one of the, and I remember when this was going around, these challenges, and it's like,
Yeah. Yep.
put one finger down if you've ever, stayed out past curfew. Put one finger down if you, swallowed
Mhm.
bubble gum. I mean, it's all
Mhm.
stupid shit.
Mhm.
She's like, put a
Put a
finger down if, yeah, go ahead.
put a finger down if like you saw your dad beat the shit out of a 5-year-old and like that kind of stuff.
Put a finger down if you ever saw your father force someone to eat their own vomit.
Yeah. Put a finger down if you ever had to swallow a goldfish. There
Yes.
was that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So this goes viral, millions of views.
Hmm.
And it brings her the attention she needs because there is a deputy now. We don't have a name for this guy, but
Mm-mm.
he's a fucking hero too.
Absolutely.
He comes forward to her in private and says, "I don't care if I lose my job, I'm going to help you guys." And he
Hmm.
did. He gets them connected with Eric Schmidt, who's the DA. Charges are filed. There's 100 charges. And we
Hmm.
see Eric Schmidt again, hero, DA, and he's given a press conference and he's like, "This is fucking disgusting," is
Yeah.
basically what he's saying. And he's like, "I'm bringing the charges. We're removing the girls." Like he does what needs to be done.
Yep. He's like, nope, we're not doing this anymore.
Hmm.
Nope.
So now we see the girls, the Blind Eye Movement. They're all hanging out together. They're having some wine and they're sharing some updates. Amanda gives the update that her mom is also being charged, as she
Hmm.
should be, because
Absolutely.
she knew the rape was happening and did nothing about it.
I would like to go to this little circle of women and hang out with them.
Oh my God, me too. Me
They're
too.
amazing.
She has been thinking about speaking. She had been thinking. Okay, so Amanda tells us people were coming to me and wanting me to speak out,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it until I had my own kids.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, and I saw that a lot when I was working with gun violence survivors. Like, a lot of the Columbine kids, as they grew
Mm.
up, were not involved in the gun violence movement or anything until they had kids.
Yeah.
That
She
changes
said as
you.
she said as soon as she saw her baby's eyes, she was like, "Fuck
Yeah.
this. I can't do it.
Yep.
We're stopping this."
You know I'm gonna cry when I get to that part, so get
I
ready.
understand.
Okay.
Okay.
So Rachel says she stayed quiet for almost a decade and she feels really guilty, and she shouldn't. She
Nope.
should not feel guilty. Kathy says, this is a great line. Kathy Durbin says, I think it's interesting that we all carry this guilt that doesn't belong to us for
Mm-hmm.
victims who aren't ours.
Yep.
I was like, wow, okay. And at one point, Ruthie calls their friendship companionship in trauma
Mm-hmm.
and says she's grateful for it. Okay, now we're going to move to episode 4, which is The Reckoning.
Right.
Ruthie's in California to support Kathy at Paul Fox's sentencing hearing. And Kathy Durbin speaks at the hearing. It's heartbreaking. And she says something that just cut
Okay.
to my core. She says, I will never be the person that I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that was so powerful too.
So powerful. He pleads guilty, because of course he does, because he's a little fucking scumbag. And the judge calls out that he has violated a position of trust. This
These
is
judges are amazing too.
This is another thing. Like, the women are like, when the judges bring up the authority piece of it, they're like, he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know why he's only given 2 years.
I don't know why either.
And the judge may have had his hands tied with the type of charges
Yeah.
or whatever.
Or he pled guilty to a lower
Yeah,
charge to
something.
whatever. But yeah, it was interesting the number of times when Ruthie was in her Zoom call and the judge said something about power. She's like, he gets it, he gets it, he like
Yes.
gets
Yes.
so like someone really understands what
Yes.
happened to us.
Mhm. So Kathy says the sentence is not fair, but she was happy to see him hauled right away. Like, they threw him in
Mhm.
handcuffs and took him right away.
Yeah, and he's like, what?
Yep. So Ruthie is now going to Aaron's pretrial hearing where he'll enter his plea, and it's COVID, so they're doing it remotely. Larissa
Mhm.
Newman, the other victim, is on the call with her.
Yep.
The judge says, I want to be aware that you know the charges against you and that they can be punishable for up to life. And
Yeah.
Aaron kind of freaks out. I was like, wait a minute.
Right. Excuse me, what?
Yeah. So they take a little break. His lawyer talks to him in a breakout room, which was
Mhm.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It was COVID.
God, Zoom,
He
Jesus.
talks with his lawyer and he does plead guilty, and it's not pretty. Like, he answers some real tough questions.
Real gross
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
We don't even need to say it, but
Nope.
real gross
Yep.
questions. And you could see him, like, he didn't want to admit to it. And that, like, the grosser it was, he was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did that.
So Amanda decides she's going to sue her parents and Agape and Circle of Hope. She's suing the Agape church as well, the church that's
Mhm.
associated with the boarding school. The charge is, it's unclear what the charge is. The lawyer rattles them off, and one of them is brainwashing, like that you couldn't make your own decisions. They inhibited
Right.
you from acting in your own best interest, something like that. The lawyer, again, a wonderful woman. I don't have her name, unfortunately. Amanda is crying, not crying, but she's emotional. And she says, I struggle with still wanting my parents. And the lawyer says, people don't understand that when you've been abused, it doesn't take away what has created the parent-child relationship.
Right.
Like, in other words, again, I'm validating you. Like,
Yeah.
it's, and I feel, and I have a note here that just says she doesn't want her dad. She wants a dad.
She wants a dad. She
Yeah.
wants
She
good
doesn't want
parents to
Boyd
love her.
Householder. She wants
No.
a good dad.
She wants a good dad, and the only dad she knows is Boyd Householder. So what she wants is for him to become a different person than he is.
Yes. So we also see Amanda at the Missouri State Capitol giving
Mhm.
testimony, trying to get laws passed to make sure these schools are licensed. She's a fucking rock star.
She is.
She is. We see the Blind Eye Group. They're in Wildemar, California. They're protesting. I think they're protesting Bruce Goddard's church. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Think about it.
Rachel,
Think
go
about
ahead.
all the things that these women did. None of these women were well educated. They all went to these shitty Christian schools that were run by these monsters, and they're like, fuck this, I'm going to the Capitol. Like, the bravery that these women have is
I know.
breathtaking.
I agree. Rachel Preach tells us that her abuser, Victor Montiero, is serving 5 years after pleading guilty to like 10 counts of rape. Like 5 years?
Jesus Christ.
But there would never be a Victor if the church didn't cover it up.
Right.
And so now they're targeting the church. There's kind of a flip here.
You can get a larger sentence for having like a kilo of pot.
There are people in jail right now who had like a bag of marijuana in their pocket.
For 10
like,
years.
yeah, yep.
And these motherfuckers.
And marijuana's legal.
Right.
Yeah. So Kathy says Bruce Goddard took what was left of her after Paul Fox was done with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she says they're filing a lawsuit against the church.
Good.
We see them all standing outside the Faith Baptist Church where Bruce Goddard is, and people are driving by and yelling at them to go home. And I wrote, fuck off, person.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Bruce Goddard drives by them and says nothing because he's a coward.
Yep.
So now we see Nanette Miles. And again, she's older. Her abuse took place 42 years ago. So she's got to be close to 60, right? She's also filing a lawsuit. And she says it took her 42 years to come forward. She's suing David Hiles, the church, and Hiles Anderson College. She said when she was 17, she told the principal about the abuse from David Hiles. And he basically said, have others come forward? And she said, yeah. Has anything been done to them? She says, no. And he's like, so just keep it quiet, girl.
Right.
Shut
So
up.
just shut up.
Mm-hmm. So she says no one believed her because the Hiles were so well respected. So she joins a class action lawsuit, but it was dismissed because of the statute of limitations. Mm-hmm. Talk about limitations. Jesus Christ, make it justice. She called the church. She goes up there to talk with Pastor Wilkerson, and he threatens to call the cops on her. Mm-hmm. Here's a victim coming to you, talking to you, and you're threatening to call the cops. She's like, they have a chance now to make amends, and they still won't do it. And she's crying, and she says that's more damaging than the abuse itself in some ways. Okay, now we're rounding out the end here. We're at Aaron Willard's sentencing hearing. And a lot of the Blind Eye girls are there to support Ruthie. She reads a really powerful statement.
Mm-hmm. Incredibly.
The other girl, what is her name? I'm sorry. What is her name? The other victim.
Larissa.
Thank you. She also reads a statement, but Ruthie's is really like, wow.
Ruthie's such a powerhouse.
She talks about how Erin Willen took advantage of her mother as a single woman with 3 kids. She talks about, she goes, she said, I want to address Erin directly. And she said, I look at my daughter who's the same age that I was, and I see how innocent she is. And you crushed that in me. Mm-hmm. And she, like, we see pictures of her and it's wild. She looks like a little girl.
Yeah. She is a little girl.
Trying not to cry.
It's okay.
I'll be okay. So she says she is 31. She still has PTSD. Now this judge, his name is George Mertz. Hero George Mertz.
It's a terrible name, though. Poor George Mertz.
I know. He's looking right at her, and you could see him trying not to cry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the judge gets it. He says the fact that you were able to do this as an authority figure and provided with the security that your word would be believed over theirs tells me that there are many more victims who have not come forward. Mm-hmm. And Ruthie is like crying. She's like, he gets it. He gets it. He gets it.
Someone believes me. Someone gets it. Someone understands all of this. Oh my God. And somebody who doesn't have to, again, I think there's power in people believing the story and supporting you who aren't related to you in any way.
Yes.
I mean, her husband believing her and supporting her, I'm sure does so much to help her get through all of this.
Yes.
But this man doesn't know her from Bupkis.
Right.
And he sees her and he's like, fuck no, we're not doing this.
Yep.
This is not okay.
It's wonderful. And those are the kind of people we need on the bench.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So he says to Aaron, the judge, I think there's something wrong with you that can't be rehabilitated. Mm-hmm. He gives him 135 months to 40 years.
Yep.
And he is eligible for parole in 2033. Yep. So he's gone. He's fucking
He's
gone.
gonna die in prison.
Yep.
Good. And you know what? Here's the thing also, we know this. We've watched enough Lockup, we know all these things. You know who people don't like in prison? Fucking child molesters.
Pedophiles. Mm-hmm.
Pedophiles.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
You know you've gotta be bad if everyone in prison is
Yep.
like, "Oh, hell no."
Yep. So Nanette is there outside and she cries and she says, she says to Ruthie, like, I want to thank you from my generation. She says,
Mhm.
in my generation, we were not heard. And she said, I feel like I can die now and be glad that I lived, which is wow.
Wow.
And she says, I hope your children don't have to deal with this at all. And Ruthie says, that is who we are doing this for, our children.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Ruthie says, every time we speak out, it's like we are reaching for the hand of someone who is too scared to come forward.
Mhm.
And then we get this awesome shot of the blind eye movement walking
Yes.
like
All these women.
badasses, all arm in arm.
Yeah, like, "Fuck this."
So then we get the end credits, and
Yep.
we learn that Ruthie's former pastor, John Jenkins, has never been charged with the crime.
Yep.
Amanda's parents' trial is scheduled for November 2023. Now, I looked and could not find if this trial happened or not. I think
Okay.
they pleaded, but I can't.
Okay.
I don't think they've been sentenced. Agape boarding school closed in January 2023, largely
Good.
thanks to Amanda Householder. Nanette still hopes David Hiles will face charges. Keep
He
wishing on
will.
that one. Kathy Durbin is going to school to be a therapist.
Yeah, she
And
is.
she's suing the church.
Good girl.
Mm-hmm.
Love her.
Paul Fox is free. He's out there.
Walking the world.
Yep. Rachel and April are happy they spoke out. Their pastor, Bruce Goddard, has never been charged.
Mhm.
In February 2023, their lawsuits were settled for an undisclosed amount. I hope they got a fucking payday out of
I
this.
do
Not
too.
that money makes any of this better.
No,
But you know
but
what these women will do? They'll take that money and they'll try to help other people. I guarantee it.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they never have to worry about a thing financially for the rest of their life.
Me too.
So they can do other work.
Yes.
So they can do this work.
Yes. And then Victor Montiero was released from prison after serving only half of his 5-year sentence. So that monster's out there again.
Mhm.
So there we go, Amanda. That's it. I mean,
Jesus Christ. So I opened up the Hiles Anderson College website.
oh, good. Okay. Talk to me.
I was just
Talk to me,
curious.
Goose. Mm-hmm.
So there are 1-year programs, 2 to 3-year programs, 4-year programs, and graduate programs.
It can't be accredited. Is it accredited? Let me
Uh,
look.
Yeah, you look at that. Oh, good. You can view more chapel sermons. Just what I want to do. So the programs in the 4-year program, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Bible. Just Bible.
Just Bible.
Missions.
Okay, wait.
Education.
Hold on. This is precious. So hold on.
Okay.
Under accreditation, because guys, if you're not familiar with higher ed, like colleges go through this process where their programs are, they meet these certain standards, they're accredited. You don't want to go to a school that's not accredited. Let me just make that very clear.
It's making sure the academic rigor, now it may be at different
Yes.
levels, but the academic
Yes.
rigor at the University of Delaware is the same at Harvard. Like we're
Yes.
teaching the same shit.
Mm-hmm. Hiles Anderson College, this is on their website, has operated free of academic governmental oversight or regulation since its founding in 1972. The Board of Trustees has chosen not to seek regional or national accreditation. This is like, you can't break up with me. I'm breaking up with you. That's this
Exactly.
kind of thing. Holy shit. And then they wrote, the board has considered that according to United States Department of Education, accreditation is a voluntary process. And Hiles Anderson College has elected not to exercise this privilege by remaining autonomous. Okay, that tells you everything you need to know about this piece of shit. Go on.
Okay. So the description under missions for the programs are missions and missionary education. Under
So
education,
not degrees, they're called missions. Okay.
yes. For under the education umbrella, you can get something in elementary or secondary ed.
Okay,
Music.
guys. If your children are in schools, check their teachers' credentials. We don't want, like, public schools would never hire these weirdos.
Yeah.
But these smaller independent schools might. So look those up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In music, we have local church music and music education.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Media, we have local church media major. And then general studies. Amy, are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down. You can see me.
General studies, under general studies, sure.
Okay, go.
You can get a 4-year program in being an administrative assistant. And the third one is marriage and motherhood.
No, stop it. What are the courses under that? Click on it and tell
Hold
me the
please.
coursework.
I'm going down. Oh, the credits required are 128. Sure.
128 credits in marriage and motherhood. Okay.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First semester, 21st century missions, Bible electives, biblical standards, Christian womanhood 1, English, just English, ministry and effective risk management, Old Testament survey.
Wait, what's effective risk management?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's learning how to like deal with this bullshit.
Okay. All right.
Personal evangelism, sorry. Preparation for leadership. Spring semester, child psychology, Christian womanhood 2, discipleship.
Oh, come on.
You get a 1 credit elective, English, New Testament survey, personal finance, and speech.
They let women have money?
Amy?
It's probably like, don't spend more than $20 at Fashion Bug.
Amy?
Oh, no, what?
In your spring semester as a sophomore, you get to take baking. It's a 2 credit class, by the way.
I need to look up how much the school costs. You keep reading the courses.
Beginning cooking, home management, and women used of God. What are we taking our junior year? I'm not saying all. Oh, in the fall of your junior year, Amy, you get to take canning and freezing.
Oh, stop.
It's 2 credits. Oh, in spring semester, you get to take crock pot cooking.
Crock pot cooking. There's a whole class on crock pot cooking?
Home decorating.
Oh, I could teach that class.
Activities for the...
Here's where you put your upside down cross. You throw me out.
Activities for the home, church, and school. Okay. Nutrition. Okay. In our senior year, we get to take things such as counseling women, credits towards minor, whatever that means, how to rear teenagers.
Can I sign up for that?
I was going to say, we both need that one. Woman the Completer. That's the name of the class.
Oh.
I don't know what the hell that means. I don't want to know.
Amanda, this costs $10,000 a year.
It's actually less than I would have thought it was.
It's less than I thought it would be too.
Yeah.
$10,000 a year.
Let's look at some more of these now that we've looked at the actual classes. Let's go to missions. What classes are we taking in missions? This is going to be good. Oh, missions. God bless. Literally. Courses. Okay. Oh God, I don't even know what some of this shit is. Basic homiletics.
Homiletics.
HOMILETICS. Okay, we need to see what the hell that even is. I've never even heard of that word.
I don't know what that is.
The art of preaching or writing sermons. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Just never knew that term. Okay, that's fine. Oh, sophomore year, you get to take a 2 credit class on cults.
Oh no! What is taught in cults?
I don't know, but sometimes irony is so ironic. Practical medical training you get to take. Ooh, you know who could have taken practical medical training? That woman who went to Africa. Who ran that hospital, who had no medical training at all, and she was like giving blood transfusions and shit. Let's see.
I don't know that person.
Yeah, you didn't. You watched it. You didn't want to talk about it.
What was it?
Oh God, I forget. The Craze covered it too.
Oh,
about Uganda.
Savior Complex.
Savior. Oh yeah, Savior Complex.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what anything else here that's really crazy now. Okay. Let's see what else do we have.
I'm trying to find if there's any like.
I hope people are finding this as entertaining as I am. Because
I'm trying to find if there's any famous alumni. I don't see any.
Oh, we can find out what you study in youth ministry. Oh God, let's see.
No.
Oh, this is going to be bad. I can tell. Everyone takes English. There's a lot of English.
Yeah, they're not teaching Catcher in the Rye. They're not teaching To Kill a Mockingbird.
No. Actually, there's nothing particularly nuts here. Like,
okay,
it's elementary Greek and church education and counseling moral failures. Yikes. Ugh.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Theology and application of ministry finance. Like, okay, like some of these things make perfect sense. If you're going to be a minister, you need to know how to run a church.
Sure, I guess.
Cool, I guess. But oh god, these people are nuts. It's the woman thing that
Guys,
just killed
you
me.
you just really need to check credentials in everything
Mhm.
because many of us, myself included, I went to a Christian school. I went to a Catholic school. So if
Mhm.
you go to people send their kids all the time to private religious
Yeah,
schools, fine. There's many good ones.
sure.
You don't want any what's the word I'm looking for? Affiliation with these weirdos.
No.
If the person running your children's youth group has a degree from
From
Hyles
this
Anderson
life,
College,
run.
run, run.
Oh,
Listen,
also
here's
in the general
go ahead.
studies, you also get to take beginning cooking.
Okay, all right.
Right.
So your wife can make a crock pot dinner.
So can I, and I never took a class in it.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I want to say. As we talked about in the beginning, what is the answer here? What is the solution, right? The solution is not run background checks on all these people because a lot of
Because
times it's not going to catch it.
none of this shit would have come up unless they got charged.
And I feel like in our society, we put a little too much faith in the background check
Mhm.
security system.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're sending your kids somewhere and you know, in today's day and age, if somebody's associated with working with kids, they've had to undergo and get their clearances, as we call
Yep.
it, right?
Yep.
Don't just rest on that because that could not. We had a coach in our school district who was like thrown out for inappropriate sexting with a student. He had all his clearances, he had his
Sure.
background check. There's nothing that can predict this behavior, right?
Yeah.
What we need is more oversight. That is the
Mhm.
answer.
Yeah.
Oversight. And we need to talk to our kids and we need to tell them, like, if a teacher is texting you, if a teacher is talking to you outside class, that is not normal. That is not
No.
okay.
No.
Like, one thing that at my school district after that happened implemented is they have this app called Sports U,
Okay.
and they're like, all communication between students and teachers goes through Sports U.
Oh,
All of it.
nice. Nice.
Coaches are not allowed to text students about practice. They have to put it through Sports U, and that is all monitored by the principal and the
Good.
the
It's fantastic.
superintendent. That's all you need. Like, it's
Yeah.
did you watch the Boy Scout story? The
Yes.
boys, yeah. Like, sending, a 20-year-old guy into the woods with a bunch of young kids.
Mhm.
Most of the time it's fine,
Right.
but some of the time it's not. So having another adult there, maybe a woman, you know what I mean, is what needs to happen. More oversight is what needs to happen.
Yeah, and, uh, yeah, it's so ridiculous, and the other thing that we did at my church is, um, in our RE program, an adult is never left alone with a child.
Right.
There's
Right.
always 2 people in the room.
Yes, that's how it
Always.
needs to be, and it wasn't always like that. That's why
Mm-mm.
there's like I remember when this whole thing with the Catholic Church came out, and a lot of people were like, priests are pedophiles, blah blah blah. No, there's many priests who aren't.
Yeah,
But there's a
absolutely.
reason that pedophiles are priests. It's because they
Mhm.
can operate there.
They can hide there.
Yes,
Mhm.
and we see that in coaching. I mean, I listened to the podcast about that women's USA gymnastics nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Nasser, is that his name?
Larry Nasser, yeah.
Holy shit. He was like abusing
Mhm.
these girls while their parents were in the room.
Oh, yeah, and they didn't
It
know.
was so, like, just having a little bit of oversight
Mhm.
in these
Mhm.
spaces will deter people from trying to infiltrate them and commit
Mhm.
these crimes. Now, is Paul Fox still going to be a fucking dirty pedophile somewhere? Yes.
Yeah,
But if he doesn't have 24-hour access to vulnerable children, that
right.
helps.
At least now he's, like, a registered sex offender, right? Like,
Thank God.
thank God. So he's not well, these churches may just hire him anyway, but,
Yeah.
in the rest of the world, this is the people will know who he is, which
Yes.
is half
Yes.
the battle.
Yes. And again, thank God for social media because it gives people like, I doubt very highly that in 20 or 30 more years you're going to see a lot of this behavior to the level you're seeing it. I think even now
Mhm.
you don't see it as much.
Yeah.
In the 70s, 80s and 90s, people
We
didn't
could
have a voice.
No, you couldn't connect with anybody, so you
No.
couldn't find
Mm-mm.
out that you weren't the only one.
Yeah, yeah. I say support the blind eye movement. If they ever have a fundraiser, throw all the fucking money we can at them.
Yeah.
hip hip hooray for them. I love these women. They're brave. I can't even imagine what it's like to go on national television and talk about
The
being
worst these
abused.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
either.
So they're fucking
Let
heroes in my
They are
book.
fucking heroes, and I love
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
I love them all.
Well, Amanda, we said it all.
We did. This was heavy. I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad we talked about it.
It was important. I felt we needed to.
It's important, and I
Mhm.
hope the times that we laugh, people understand that we're not laughing at this. We're
No,
laughing at
of course
like
not.
the absurd, like we're laughing at, to credit crock pot cooking class.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
the fuck.
Yeah.
Get yourself a crock pot cookbook, people. It's not hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I just, believe women.
Believe women.
Believe women.
Plain and simple. All right, guys, if you haven't already, jump into our Facebook group, Backdoor Friends. We have a lot of fun in there. We're 700 strong.
I know, growing every day.
Kind of amazing. Support the show if you can by leaving a 5-star review or jump onto our paid tiers. And that's it. That's all I got to say. Follow us on Instagram.
Yes, please follow us on Instagram and, just, yeah, I don't even know what to say. It's just, yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.